Imagine if tonight as dinner could quietly begin cleaning your arteries while you sleep. No expensive procedures, no miracle pills, just one simple plate of food. Cardiologists are genuinely surprised by how powerful this meal is, because it targets inflammation, cholesterol, and blood flow all at once. And the best part? It's something you can start eating today. Let me explain this as I would to my own patients. Most people think clogged arteries happen suddenly, like a pipe that just blocks overnight. In reality, it's a slow, silent process that starts years, sometimes decades, before symptoms appear. Tiny injuries form inside your blood vessels. LDL cholesterol slips in. Inflammation follows. Over time, plaque builds layer by layer, narrowing the artery and stiffening it. Blood struggles to flow. Oxygen delivery drops, and eventually, the heart or brain pays the price. Now here's the surprising part most people don't hear in a doctor's office. Your body is not helpless against this process. In fact, your arteries are biologically designed to repair themselves if you give them the right raw materials. And that's exactly what this one plate does. This meal works because it attacks arterial plaque from 3 directions at the same time. First, it reduces chronic inflammation, which is the true root cause of plaque formation. Second, it improves the balance between bad LDL cholesterol and good HDL cholesterol. And third, it boosts nitric oxide production, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels, improves circulation, and helps prevent further plaque from sticking. Now let's talk about what's actually on this plate. At the center of this meal is fatty fish, especially salmon, sardines, or mackerel. These fish are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA. These fats are not just heart-healthy in a vague way, they actively lower triglycerides, reduce arterial inflammation, and make blood less sticky. Studies published in major cardiology journals show that people who regularly consume omega-3-rich fish have slower plaque progression and a significantly lower risk of heart attacks. Omega-3 South helps stabilize existing plaque as well. That's critical because unstable plaque is what ruptures and causes sudden heart attacks. Think of omega-3 South as calming agents inside your arteries, reducing irritation and making the vessel walls more flexible. Next on this plate is a generous serving of leafy greens, spinach, arugula, kale, or Swiss chard. These aren't just vitamins in leaf form. They are rich in natural nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is one of the most powerful molecules for vascular health. It signals your arteries to relax and widen, lowering blood pressure and improving blood flow. As a doctor, I often explain it like this: nitric oxide is like oil for your blood vessels. Without it, arteries become stiff, narrow, and damaged. People with low nitric oxide levels almost always have higher rates of hypertension and atherosclerosis. Now add extra virgin olive oil to this plate. Not a little drizzle, but a proper serving. High-quality olive oil contains polyphenols, especially oleuropein and hydroxytyrosol. These compounds are potent antioxidants. They protect LDL cholesterol from oxidation, which is a crucial step in plaque formation. Oxidized LDL is far more dangerous than regular LDL because it triggers immune reactions inside the artery wall. Clinical trials from Mediterranean diet studies consistently show that people who consume olive oil daily have cleaner arteries, better cholesterol profiles, and lower cardiovascular mortality, even when total fat intake is relatively high. This tells us something important. It's not fat that clogs arteries, it's inflammation and oxidation. Now we add one more powerful element to this plate, a portion of fiber-rich vegetables or legumes, such as lentils, chickpeas, or broccoli. Fiber acts like a cleanup crew inside your digestive system. It binds to excess cholesterol and helps remove it from the body before it ever reaches your bloodstream. Soluble fiber, in particular, has been shown to reduce LDL cholesterol levels significantly when consumed consistently. But fiber does something else that's even more interesting. It feeds beneficial gut bacteria. These bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids that lower systemic inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity, both of which directly protect your arteries. So when you put this plate together, fatty fish, leafy greens, olive oil, and fiber-rich plants, you're not just eating dinner. You're sending healing signals throughout your cardiovascular system. And here's what surprises many doctors: the effects begin much sooner than people expect. Within weeks, blood vessel function improves. blood pressure often starts to drop. Triglycerides decline, inflammation markers go down. This isn't theory, it's measurable physiology. I've seen patients who felt constant leg heaviness, cold hands, or mild chest tightness notice real improvements simply by changing their main meal a few times a week. Not because food is magic, but because biology responds quickly when you stop attacking it and start supporting it. Now, an important clarification. This meal does not scrape plaque out of arteries like a brush in a pipe. That's not how the body works. Instead, it slows plaque growth, stabilizes existing plaque, improves arterial flexibility, and allows natural repair mechanisms to do their job. Over time, this can lead to partial regression and, more importantly, a dramatic reduction in heart attack and stroke risk. In the next part, I'll explain exactly how often you should eat this meal, what common mistakes cancel out its benefits, and why timing matters more than most people realize when it comes to artery health. Here's where most people unknowingly sabotage their artery health, even after choosing the right foods. They eat this kind of meal once, maybe twice, and then go right back to highly processed oils, refined carbohydrates, and constant snacking. Your arteries don't respond to occasional good intentions. They respond to patterns. Consistency is what signals healing. For real, measurable benefits, this plate should appear on your table at least 3 to 4 times per week. Not necessarily every day, but often enough that inflammation stays low and blood vessel repair stays active. When omega-3 levels remain steady, when nitric oxide production is supported regularly, and when fiber intake is consistent, your arteries stay in a protected state rather than constantly switching between damage and repair. Timing also matters more than most people realize. Eating this meal as your main meal of the day, lunch or early dinner, is far more effective than late-night eating. Late meals increase insulin levels at a time when your body is supposed to be repairing, not digesting. Elevated nighttime insulin promotes fat storage and worsens inflammation, both of which negatively affect arterial walls. Now let me address a common question patients ask me in the clinic. These spikes damage the endothelial lining of arteries, the thin protective layer that keeps plaque from forming. Even one sugary drink can temporarily reduce nitric oxide availability for hours. So pairing a healthy plate with a sweet beverage is like pressing the brake and accelerator at the same time. Now let me share something that surprises many people over the age of 40. As we age, our ability to produce nitric oxide naturally declines. This is one reason circulation problems, cold feet, erectile dysfunction, and rising blood pressure become more common with age. In simple terms, it helps your arteries behave younger than they are. Another powerful benefit of this meal is how it affects blood thickness. Thick, sluggish blood increases clot risk. This reduces strain on the heart and lowers the chance of dangerous clot formation. I often tell patients to pay attention to subtle signals after a few weeks of eating this way. Warmer hands and feet, better stamina while walking, fewer episodes of dizziness, improved mental clarity. These are signs that blood flow is improving long before lab results even change. Now let's talk about medications briefly, because this is important. Rushed meals activate stress hormones that constrict blood vessels. Calm, mindful eating activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes digestion and vascular relaxation. Something as simple as slowing down can measurably improve how your arteries respond to food. In the final part, I'll explain who should be cautious with this meal, how to customize it for diabetes or high blood pressure, and the one habit that quietly undoes all of its benefits even if you eat perfectly. Before you start applying this plate to your life, there are a few important safety points I would explain clearly to any patient sitting in front of me. If you're taking blood thinners or high-dose aspirin, the omega-3 fats in fatty fish can slightly enhance blood thinning effects. This is usually beneficial, but it means portions should be reasonable, not excessive, and any major dietary change should be discussed with your doctor. More is not always better when it comes to circulation. For people with diabetes, this plate can be extremely helpful, but only when carbohydrates are chosen carefully. Lentils, chickpeas, and non-starchy vegetables are ideal because they release glucose slowly and improve insulin sensitivity. White rice, bread, or potatoes on the same plate will blunt many of the artery protective effects by spiking blood sugar and increasing inflammation. If you have high blood pressure, this meal works best when you focus heavily on leafy greens and keep sodium low. Avoid bottled sauces, packaged seasonings, and restaurant marinades. Flavor the meal with herbs, garlic, lemon, and spices instead. Garlic, in particular, has mild blood pressure lowering and anti-inflammatory effects that complement everything else on the plate. Now let me talk about the one habit that quietly undoes all of this, even if you eat perfectly. Sedentary behavior. You can eat the cleanest, most artery-friendly meal in the world, but if you remain inactive for most of the day, blood flow stagnates. Arteries rely on movement to stay healthy. When muscles contract, they help push blood through vessels and stimulate nitric oxide release. Long hours of sitting tell your body that circulation demand is low, and arteries slowly lose their responsiveness. This doesn't mean you need intense exercise. In fact, gentle, consistent movement is far more powerful for artery health. A daily 20 to 30-minute walk, light resistance training, or even frequent standing breaks can dramatically amplify the benefits of this meal. Think of food as the repair material and movement as the signal that tells your body where to use it. Another overlooked factor is sleep. Poor sleep raises cortisol, a stress hormone that damages blood vessels and promotes plaque formation. Eating this plate while sleeping 5 hours a night is like trying to fix a leak while someone keeps drilling new holes. Aim for regular, high-quality sleep to allow real vascular repair to happen. Hydration matters too. Dehydration thickens the blood, increasing strain on arteries and the heart. Water supports circulation and helps nutrients from this meal reach vessel walls more effectively. Many people mistake thirst for hunger and snack unnecessarily, increasing inflammation without realizing it. Now here's something that truly surprises many people. Genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. Even if heart disease runs in your family, this plate can dramatically shift your risk curve. Large population studies show that people with genetic predispositions who follow Mediterranean-style eating patterns have far fewer cardiovascular events than those who don't. Your genes are not your destiny, they are a starting point. I've watched patients go from fear to confidence simply by understanding that artery health is something they can influence daily. Not through extremes, but through steady, intelligent choices. This plate isn't about restriction. It's about replacement, replacing inflammation with nourishment, replacing stiffness with flexibility, replacing fear with understanding. We've now covered how this meal works, how often to eat it, what to avoid, who should be cautious, and how lifestyle factors determine its real impact. When you step back and look at the big picture, this one plate represents something much larger than a meal. It represents a shift in how you care for your arteries, not by fighting your body, but by working with it. Arteries don't clog because you failed overnight. They clog slowly, quietly, through years of inflammation, poor circulation, and constant metabolic stress. And in the same quiet way, they begin to heal when those stress signals are removed and replaced with the right nutrients. Fatty fish calm inflammation. Leafy greens restore blood vessel flexibility. Olive oil protects cholesterol from turning toxic. Fiber clears excess cholesterol before it ever reaches your bloodstream. Together, they create an environment where plaque stops progressing and stability replaces danger. This isn't about perfection. It's about direction. Each time you choose this plate, you lower the burden on your heart. You improve blood flow to your brain, your muscles, and your vital organs. You reduce the chances of a sudden, life-altering event and increase the odds of steady, confident aging. And perhaps most importantly, this approach puts control back in your hands. Not through fear, not through extremes, but through simple, repeatable choices that align with how the human body is designed to function. If there's one takeaway to remember, it's this. Your arteries are listening to what you do most often, not what you do occasionally. Feed them calm instead of chaos, support instead of strain. And over time, they respond. If you found this helpful, take a moment to think about what will be on your next plate, because small decisions, repeated consistently, are what quietly protect your heart for years to come.